Hi everyone, let's talk about Eldritch Horror. Topical as always. Hey, I hadn't played Eldritch Horror before this. This is just what I think about it. If you're interested in that, if you would like to see it in action, well, there are many playthroughs about, but I've just finished a full one. There should be loads of parts of it up on this channel. And hey, maybe more. Let me know if you liked it. I'd like to do some more. But if you want to see it, that is. Otherwise, I'll just play on my own. Anyway, Eldritch Horror. I was a big fan of Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. It's like the first game that I bought in the kind of modern games category, way before I got the rest of them. Kind of got that, really enjoyed it, for some reason didn't buy any more. But I got a cheap copy and started to reminisce, and then, there was talk of Eldritch Horror, which I was always kind of put off it because everyone said like, oh, it's improved Arkham Horror, it's refined, it's streamlined Arkham Horror. And I was kind of thought, well, what I like about Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, and I think something that put me off the 3rd edition of it a little bit in a way, was I kind of like the clunkiness and everything that's wrong with it, how bulky it is and how many decks of cards and how huge the board is and how you've got no hope whatsoever, and kind of thought, well, I don't want those things refining out of it. But this time, coinciding with thinking about it again and seeing it at the Bring 'em by the UK Games Expo, I thought, let's give it a go. And I'm really glad that I did, because I've been loving it. We played our first game like a week and a half ago, and I've played it like this is the 7th time I think that I've played it. I've been really enjoying it. A lot of those have been solo, but which goes against a lot of the games that I tend to like. I tend to like Euro stuff, not dice chucking, and shorter games. It does tend to take like 3 hours probably. It is one that I can kind of just, if I can leave it set up, I will just like go away and do something else for a bit or come back to it another night, which is nice. And I have been trying to think, like, what is it about this then? Because I'm sure there's been plenty of games doing a similar thing that I probably on this channel have moaned plenty about. And I think one of the main things is I like the story that it tells, and I kind of feel the story more, or can see the story more. I think a lot of the things with the more thematic, the Ameritrash kind of game, is that I end up just seeing dice being rolled and usually failure, which is a hallmark of Eldritch Horror, but bear with me. And I don't really see the story that the game is telling for fans of those particular games. But there is something that I see in Eldritch Horror, even with, I assume you've seen the playthrough. I'll spoil it. But things like, to try and stop the very last doom ticking over, a character takes on another dark pact, and it's, they've had a pretty rough time with all of this stuff, having to take on debts, having to take on these dark pacts that have then messed them up more, and then ended up getting devoured by kind of the devil towards the end of the game. There's a character called Charlie Kane that's just kind of like a selfish politician that is kind of forced to save the world because there won't be a world to save if it doesn't exist. And his ability, he can give items to other people wherever they are. So there was a game I played where Charlie Kane basically just stood in his starting space the entire game, using cash to solve every kind of problem. But then when it came to the crunch and the game hung on killing a massive monster, Charlie Kane had somehow accidentally at the start of the game ended up with the really powerful carbine rifle that gives you a ton of combat dice, and he against all odds ended up taking down the ancient one. I know that I'm sure a load of these things are saying, well, I feel that about X game that you didn't like. Yeah, I don't really know. For some reason, this is being an outlier. I like the stories. As I said at the start of the playthrough, I like the setting the scene stories on the back of the characters. I would like them to go somewhere as well. I think you can let me know in the comments, because I only really played this and Forsaken Lore at the moment. But there's an expansion, right, that adds personal goals and stuff. There's tons of expansions. So the good thing with this is I think it's quite variable. There are 4 old ones. There are a few cards for each deck. I have seen, though, from what I was recommended, from patrons and viewers and stuff, and from what I've read through looking at forums, the Forsaken Lore expansion is pretty much get that one, because it doesn't really add in new mechanics, really, but it kind of doubles your decks. It adds more mysteries to the ancient ones. So not only are there different ancient ones, but I really like the system in the mysteries as well. There are, for Azathoth, maybe other expansions add more, I don't know, but with the Forsaken Lore expansion, they've got 6 cards with the mysteries, and you'll have 3 of those to solve in a game. Hopefully 3. Cards might make you do more than that, of course. But yeah, there's variation, not only in how they make cultists behave, how their little rules and quirks work. Their own individual research deck is nice, because as you're going for the clues, you've got these sometimes nice story moments that tie into what the Ancient One is all about. And sometimes they've got a special deck concerning something that they do. Now, I've played against all of the 5 that I have got so far, and yeah, really enjoyed. I've only won 2 games so far, which I think is pretty good going. I think that's kind of that's a better win rate than I could have hoped for. I do prefer when games, especially co-ops, they've got a bit more of a flow of piling on pressure and then taking it off a little bit for a while. And it's never consistent from game to game, but often Eldritch Horror just kind of piles things onto you. All of this stuff builds up, and sometimes miracles happen and you can just get rid of a load of things and suddenly seem in control. But more often than not, it is piling on pressure over and over again to you. I have preferred, in different ways, I prefer playing with 2 investigators, and if we've played 2 players with 1 investigator each, just because that's less to think about. If I'm solo, I've just got 2 characters to think about, all of their different items and their special abilities to remember. That's plenty to be thinking about. But they've still got to get across this great big world, and the travel rules are still very limited. Fewer things are coming out. Like, I don't think I've got the player reference cards out here, but there's just 1 clue will spawn at a time, so it's harder to you don't need as many clues, but only 1 clue will come out on the board, and you've got to somehow get to that clue. Or like, we're all down here for something that's happened, and now it's like, oh, you need to get over to somewhere in the middle of the board, and it's going to take you loads of turns, and have you got that time? It goes easier on you on some things, but it feels very hard to get across the world. And maybe, depending on how the game goes, you might not get as many encounters. There's only 2 turns between each Mythos card, and although the Mythos cards are affecting everyone a lot of the time and can punish you more harshly for having more characters, it just feels like with 4, you can get around more. You do get a load more story things. The game will last a load longer though, and so playtime can end up being an issue again. So there's pros and cons to both, but I feel like the game is kind of more manageable, more doable. Or not more doable, because I haven't won every time I've been 4 characters, but it feels like you had a chance more. Whereas I'd say a lot of the 2-player ones, I still enjoyed them and was still kind of learning the ropes and seeing the new things. But yeah, it felt like a lot of the time, I just can't get to this stuff in time. This stuff's kind of mounting up and we're just kind of taking baby steps towards it. Talking about Arkham Horror, being a fan of Arkham Horror 2nd Edition, and maybe we'll be talking about that again one day. Hey, vote for that. But yeah, Eldritch Horror, I feel like it has got a load of things. It is using kind of the base rule set, isn't it? But it's kind of the feel of the game is different. I think, for atmosphere, you aren't just in Arkham, and I do love the atmosphere of Arkham, I'm not putting it down in that way. The kind of oppressive, you're just going along the streets and these little districts of this small place, and everything is going wrong, and good luck, because you're going to lose this game. Just, it's a matter of how long it's going to take you to lose it. Eldritch does feel like more of an adventure. We are kind of globetrotting. We can get stuff done on a grander scale, even though you're just fighting these monsters one at a time. It feels kind of more possible in a way, and through having the various decks for the Ancient Ones as well as having loads of Ancient Ones, it feels different when you replay them straight away. There are a ton of expansions to get lost in as well. If I had the time, I would be getting lost right in them all. But yeah, just from the base game and that small expansion that I've got, I have, as I said, I've played it like 7 times in a week and a half, and I need to be playing other things now. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back to it. I'm really glad I gave it a chance because, against all odds, I love it. And I have played Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. We'll talk about that another time. And I've still got I've still got my rose-tinted glasses for it. I really enjoyed it, and maybe it made me feel maybe I should get 3rd edition again and give that another chance. I don't know. Do you want to see any of this stuff though? Maybe it's just going to be for my own enjoyment, or maybe not enjoyment. Who knows? I'm really glad that I got the reminder and the nudge to give Eldritch a go though, because it's for now. I'm loving it. Maybe it's just a little bit of a honeymoon period and I'm suddenly going to turn against it. But for now, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And yeah, doesn't come with a monster cup. As always, I think that's got to be a complaint with every single one of them, right back from Arkham 2nd Edition. It's never come with a cup that's required for the game. Hey, Euro games can do it. Fantasy Flight can do it. But at least it's got enough standees for all of the investigators as well. But yeah, let me know if you'd like to see more, because maybe we'll get an expansion. Ashcan Pete must be in it, right? Joe Diamond, is he in one? Let's find them. Thank you very much for watching this, though. If you'd like to see more playthroughs from me, I've done loads and loads and loads of them. There's like 650 or something on the channel at the moment. They're all supported by Patreon and Ko-fi. Oh, you can't see me pointing in this corner. There it is. Yeah, your support will be massively appreciated and is the reason that I'm able to do this. Thank you very much for being here, though, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye, everyone.